Welcome back to another episode of Inside Out with Sahas and Ali. If you're already watching us, if you watched us our previous episodes, you know that we talk about mental health, we talk about mindset, and we challenge the belief system to push you to ask more whys because there is a genius inside of you. Yes, I said genius because you are one. Today we have a very special guest, Gary Hibbert, on our podcast. Gary is a licensed realtor and a real estate investor as well. He became a full-time entrepreneur in 2014 and achieved massive success since then. If you are in real estate investing in Ontario or in Canada for that matter, you know who is he. Also the host of his own podcast, the Real Talk with Gary, where he educates and inspires people to change their mindset. Gary is driven by his goal of helping others and making a difference. Gary, thank you so much for doing this with us today.
Thank you very much. That was a great introduction. I like it. And you know what I like? I like the name of the podcast, Inside Out. I think that's a great name for the show because I think that's correct. It starts from the inside,
Exactly.
And if you can look at yourself inside, as opposed to looking for a cure on the outside and blaming other people because where you are and looking at them for the results, right?
Yeah,
so I like that.
You nailed it. You know what's funny? Because we actually had to describe our this inside out idea to a lot of people, but you nailed it the moment you came in. I like that. Yeah. You got it right. That's exactly what it is.
It was as if you were reading from a bio description.
Yeah, but you know what though? Because it comes down to the mindset, right? And I think once I started shifting my mindset, I realized that really anything is possible. You hear it when you're younger, and I think as you start getting into your 20s and your 30s and the family starts, and then you kind of start forgetting some of these teachings. But if you can go back to it, and I really believe, when you go, aha, those aha moments, I don't think sometimes those aren't new. Those are things that you forgot and are remembering again. That's what I think aha moments are. Could be wrong, but it sounds right.
No, absolutely. And so true that, a lot of things that the other reason that we have by the name of Inside Out is because it's time to also, talk it out, to get it out of your system, whatever you have inside. It's being so that is why wherever we talk about it, even we have the way that we have described you, we have given you our introduction. That is the surface level introduction. But what we want to tell people is that what is the under the surface, and everyone has gone through their kind of shit in their lives. Maybe that be through mental health, maybe depression, maybe something has impacted them in their lives. And that is under the surface. So that is not on the surface. A lot of people that you go on Instagram, they just put on the smileys, filters and everything, but they're never putting out their failures out there.
Right.
And the people who are depressed, they're looking at the successes and they're getting more depressed because of the fact that they cannot reach to that levels.
Yeah, 100%. Very true. And especially in the world of social media today, right? It's very easy to keep scrolling and looking at other people's lives and how amazing it is. And that you end up stop posting yourself, or you forget the content that you should be putting out as well. And you're always comparing yourself to other people's lives when you really, that is, I think, what also can cause mental health, right? When you start looking at the way that other people are living, and it's not attainable, and I get caught in that as well too. I'm like, well, look at this other investment club, or look at this other real estate investor, and they're crushing it here and they're crushing it there, and it can weigh on you. And so I think even sometimes, even for the best, it can catch you if you're not mentally strong and have the right mindset.
It's really interesting you talk about that. I was listening to a podcast by, I forgot the name. He's a celebrity. He was in Take Him to the Greek. And anyway, so he had a really good take on social media. He said, social media is a double-edged sword. You go on there, and he, as a celebrity who makes millions of dollars, he goes on there. He sees people on his own social circle, how good they're doing, and that drags him down as well. But that's why he tends to go on a hiatus once in a while and just, quit social media. But at the same time, he says, it's a powerful tool. It helps me reach people. It helps me share things that are valuable. So it really depends how you look at it, right? So it's kind of, I get it. you want to go on there and you want to help people. At the same time, you have to be cognizant on the fact that people will be sharing fake lives, as they say, or a image of what it actually is, or what's going on, and just take it as face value. Don't take it as they're better than you or their life is way better than yours.
Right. And you know what's important, I think, and this might maybe help people who are on social media and to try to use it as a good tool, because it is a good tool, and it can be a bad tool, right? It's no different than anything else, right? A car is a great vehicle to get you from A to B, but it can also kill people. And so the way that I try to look at it and when I'm on there is there's reactive and there's proactive. And so when you're reactive, this is when you're looking at the world at a larger level, and then you start to make more emotional decisions. And then you can see it where now people start posting things on coronavirus and, mask, anti-mask. And so they're trying to change the world, and it's impacting them emotionally. Well, what I try to do, and again, look, I sometimes get caught in it as well too, but what I try to do and focus and remember is that let me work more on not the reactive, but the proactive, which is the smaller circle, and the things that I can control and the things that I can influence and the people that I can try and change their lives and try. So I'm always trying to put more motivational things out there, or videos or posts that can affect somebody else positively. And also me as well too, because I'm putting that positive content out. Right. I can easily turn around and say, F Trudeau and Doug Ford, you're taking my life, my freedoms away.
Right.
I get all that. That is happening, but I don't have to focus on it. And so don't worry about that larger circle, because what are you going to do? You're going to go down and talk to Doug Ford? No, you're probably not. So leave that alone. Right. And focus more on things that you can control.
No, absolutely.
That's a very good answer.
Yeah, because it's so easy to, get distracted by what is happening around you. And especially during these times when we know that it seems that, it's unfair. A lot of people feel that, it's unfair, that economy is suffering and everything is happening. But this is how, I think we just have to adapt in whatever the changes are happening. We just need to adapt and see whatever the best route that we can take in taking care of ourselves first, because that is the most primary reason. Because if we are unable to take care of ourselves, our mental health, our fitness, bring a kind of a discipline during these times, things are going to go south, and you will not know when did you start getting into that.
Right. You hit on a very, very important word there, which is adapt. And the people that are able to adapt the fastest are the ones that can survive. And so when I started our company back in 2010, and from then I've always written a newsletter every single week. Okay. I've taken breaks in the summer because that's when we take our hiatus, and in the winter. But even up until today, I still write a newsletter every single week. And going back in those newsletters, every year is like major change happening, another major change happening. And every year it was like the real estate investing world is never going to be the same. It's never going to be the same. And when you look back at it, it's always the ones that always adapt, that are able to transition it, because no different than what's happening right now. Yeah. People are like, oh, there's no way we're going to buy any more cash flowing properties. I look at my board, right. It is full. It is full. And so you just have to always be able and willing to adapt and shuffle and move, and you'll survive.
Yeah.
Right. You just got to start thinking outside the box. And that's the one great thing that I love about, I would say, being an entrepreneur. And it was a difficult transition from the 9-to-5 world into that entrepreneur world, because you have to learn how to become creative.
Yeah.
And one of the things that you'll discover is that there's so many different ways to adapt, and there's so many different ways to make money, and there's so many different ways to live your life and design your life.
Yeah.
Right.
Gary, do you want to bring that same topic up? Keeping in mind your transition from the 9-to-5 world to who you are now. You know, we all go through our journey. Like Sahas was in the same Sahas when he came to Canada. I was in the same person last year. Gary was in the same person when he quit his 9-to-5. Walk us through that journey, that transformation, that mindset transformation you had to overcome from, I need my job, to, you know what, I can survive. I can do this without anyone's help.
Yeah. I guess I'll kind of start around maybe say 2008, 2009. And what had happened was it was Black Monday. Went into work. I was working at TD Bank, and the managers came out, and he goes, I called in one of our co-workers, and he comes out, and you can see the look on his face, and he's like, oh my God, he just got let go. And so all day they started letting people go. And I remember I was like, I need this job. I cannot lose this job because I just bought a home. And manager comes out at the end of the day, and he goes, all right, that's it. Whoever's left, you guys are safe. And I remember driving home, and I go, never again do I ever want to feel like somebody's in control of my financial freedom or future. And so that really kind of got me going down a journey of finding, how do I get out of this 9-to-5 job? Problem is I didn't know how to, and I kept doing a whole bunch of different things. But then I remembered a couple of years ago, my brother had brought over this video called The Secret. And I went back and I watched it again. And I'm like, can it be that simple? Can it be just writing down what you want, this wishful thinking? And I was like, you know what, let me try it. And so that was kind of the start. And then I stumbled across, I'm trying to remember how I did, but I don't remember how I did. But anyways, it doesn't matter. But I came across Jim Rohn. And I would say that person completely changed my whole entire life. Because then I started realizing that it's just a mindset thing. And one of the things that he talked about was goal setting and writing down what you want and just dreaming big, but writing it all down. Just writing it all down. Doesn't matter how small, how big, because most people don't have a list of what they want. And so I did that. I wrote down everything that I wanted. It was about 100 things. And then I labeled it 1, 3, 5, 10, meaning I can achieve this in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, or 10 years. And anything I could achieve in 1 year went on my whiteboard, and everything else went into the drawer. And so what I'm really trying to say is that I then started to learn that I could design a life. And so then I remember that 1 year I wrote down, I want 4 investment properties. And you got to remember now too, I didn't have the money to buy 4 investment properties, right? You know, that was only maybe about a couple of years into this. And at the end of the year, I had 4 investment properties. And then I was like, I get it. It has nothing to do with money.
Yes.
See, people think that you have to have the money to actually be able to buy things or to do things or to achieve things. You don't. It's just an illusion. Yes, you sometimes have to have some of it, obviously, but you don't actually have to control it. What you have to do is become attractive. And the more attractive you become, the more you can attract more money to you. Because see, if you hold on to money, right, it's useless. Money is only powerful, or you can use it, is when you're actually using it. It's kind of like oxygen. Like, hold on to oxygen and hold on to it and don't let go. Eventually you have to, right? So once I started to understand that concept of money and not the lust of money, that then started giving me more of the courage to then say, well, if that's possible, what else is possible? Because then now this is just a mindset thing. And so then I started going down even deeper into those rabbit holes and listening to other people like Brian Tracy, and Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar. And they all kind of had a common theme. They said it different, but they had common themes. And I'm like, well, then this has to be the pathway to living a more fruitful life. And the day that I finally decided that I wanted to leave, I remember going into my manager's office. I'm like, okay, I'm leaving. And, you know, he goes, okay, are you sure? And then I go, yeah. And he goes, okay, why don't you do it? And it took a little while, a couple of weeks. And he goes, why don't you take a sabbatical? And I was like, okay, I'll take a sabbatical. But I go, let me think about it. So I went home, thought about it, came back into work the next day. And I go, no, I don't want a sabbatical. And he goes, why? Because then that means that I could fail. Yes. And I'm not leaving here to fail. So I don't need a sabbatical. And that was probably one of the best days really of my life.
That was when you were truly free.
Yeah.
First day became
And I didn't have, and I didn't have the income yet, really. But I could see where the business was going. I could see where the ideas were going. I could see what I could create. And once I left, and it took a little while. There's obviously a lot of stumbling and figuring out. And now I don't have 8 hours. I have to sit at this desk, and I get 8 extra hours now that I can work on this business. And it's not an easy transition either. Because you're also trying to find your footing of what does my day look like.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's so true. It's once you have that proof of concept, you gain that confidence within you that you can do this. But it is so hard to get to that level first, because like I said, all the people you mentioned, that's something we all talk about, like it's mindset. But nobody really gets it until they start doing it. Like, you can write all the goals you want. You can like pinpoint $100 bill on your ceiling, like all that works. But until you start actually doing it, that's not, until you actually take the first step, I've noticed you're not going to see that change. Like that was one area I was really stuck in for the longest time. I was reading all these books. I'm like, why is it not happening? And then, an opportunity came along, and I was ready mentally, and I jumped on it, and everything else was opened up. Right. And that's when I kind of realized that, okay, I was becoming the person who I had to be to get that opportunity in the first place.
Right. And I think you also touched on something which was really important. And I think which the secret left out is the action piece, is you actually have to go and work now. It's not just wishful thinking. There's unfortunately, there's no easy way to success. I wish there was. I've looked, I've tried many different ways. I mean, I've gone into Amway. I've done forex trading and currency trading and ACN and you name it, I've tried it.
And like it's just like burn the ship's approach, right? Like you have nowhere else to go. Once you know that in order to be successful, you have to take an action, and action is only happens when you take any risk. Right. And you have to take risk in your life. Like I just remembered when you said your story, I just realized it's just almost been 2 years for me since I moved to this country. And last year when I was, so I've worked into various jobs. I've worked as a Uber driver. I've worked in a chocolate store selling chocolates, ice cream.
Right. Yeah.
Then a recent job that I did, which I left, and after that I never went back. And by the way, that was the first time ever in my life I worked under someone. Because before that, back in India, I was an entrepreneur too.
Okay.
So I've never really worked under someone. So this was like a very fascinating experience for me. But then when I started working for someone and I realized that, what about my dreams? What about my goals? Where do I have to achieve? It's for some time it's good, but like if I need to be there, I need to start doing shit on my own, and I have to get on my own feet. Right. Then at the same time, I was establishing my marketing and everything was going on. But then again, I realized like what is really important for me, the money or the freedom. And that was the time, from my sales. So I worked as a car salesman too. So last time when I was working as a car salesman, so they were moving me to another position where I could do marketing and sales and everything, and the pay was higher. It was like literally they were paying me. And I said that I don't want that position. I don't want to work anymore. And they were like, but Sahas, it's more money. And I'm saying, you don't understand it, right? It's not about the money.
Right.
Right. So the moment, and the reason why I did that, I'm sorry, I'm cutting you in between. The reason why I did that is because I wanted to put myself into a risky situation. Now I have no backup. Now let's see how it goes.
Right. Yeah, no, that's good. That's really good. It's powerful. Right. And, again, you can design a life. I think for the most part, though, most people flow down the river and just kind of just go and end up wherever they end up. I used to live like that. Like, again, like when I was at TD, started off in the tape library, then I became a frontline operator. And then like, hey, Gary, you know what? You're a hard worker. Why don't you be a team lead? Okay, cool. Hey, Gary, you're doing really good. Why don't you be a manager? Yeah, I'd love to be a manager. Hey, Gary, amazing job. Why don't you be a shift manager? Yeah, I want to be a shift manager. Okay, I'll do it. But when I stepped back, and I remember, talking to one of my senior managers, and the conversation was, like, yeah, but they're looking at me, and they really love the work that I'm doing, and I'm so thankful for them. It's like, no, they're putting you in those positions because you're helping them.
Yeah.
And that really kind of hit me, where it wasn't me designing my life. I was falling into somebody else's design, you know, and those are just some of the things that were happening, where you just have to kind of take a step back, or sometimes somebody just says something important to you that you're like, hold on a second, what am I doing? Where am I going? And literally I was just happening to go down life. And now it's so much better when you can actually design it, when you can say, this is what I want. Because here's what it does as well too, is it also gives you the power and the confidence to say no.
Yes.
No to things that, you know, that you don't want to do. Because a lot of times if you don't know what you want and things come in, you're like, oh, this is a great opportunity. Now, if something comes in, I can like, is it on my whiteboard? Nope, not interested. Maybe I'll put it on there next year. But that is not part of the design that I have this year. And I don't have room for that to do it.
No, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So like, and I see you, Gary, you're really fit. Like you really, it seems like that you really work hard on your fitness and everything. How do you maintain that, especially during these times? Do you have a home gym, or you, like, how do you take care of your fitness and everything?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I used to work out a lot more pre-COVID. I don't work out as much as I do, but I do have a quick little routine that I do in the morning. And it's really, I do some push-ups, I do some sit-ups, I do some stretches. I find stretches are super important. And I find it just keeps me obviously flexible as well too. But that's kind of what I do. And I also go out and I do some walking as well too. But there's this one book I was reading. I think it was, I'm trying to remember what it was now. But anyways, it was along the lines of like the 1 minute workout. And essentially, you know, people have a difficult time mentally saying, okay, I got to get up. I got to get the gym clothes on. I got to go to the gym, or I got to go downstairs. And so he was just pretty much saying, just go and work out for 1 minute. And just that 1 minute can change your life. Because once you start just for that 1 minute, you might maybe do 2 or 3. Right? But it's just to go and say, okay, you know what? I'm going to go do 1 minute. And you just go and you get down and you're like, okay, but now you're into it. Yeah. Right. And so that's important to me. I try my best to eat healthy. I do like intermittent fasting. I find that helps as well too. You know, I don't, before I used to eat because it was breakfast, lunch, dinner. Now I just try to listen to my body and say, okay, I'm hungry now, using it as fuel. Because I used to eat and I'd be like, I'd have to go sleep. And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Why isn't food supposed to be energy? And so then why am I eating to sleep? And so once I realized that, it's made such a huge difference, you know, and I find that it allows me to be a more alert, more attentive when I'm not just filling my stomach up with food.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so I'm really big on the health. I mean, look, I'm not a super health nut by any means, but I think it's super important, you know, because, you know, who said it best? Jim Rohn, treat your body like a temple, not a woodshed. Right. So this, and again, those are the mindset things. Those little small things can change your life, right? I remember what I used to do when I used to listen to Jim Rohn or Zig Ziglar or anybody. It'd always be like in the car when I was going from work to home. And what I would do is when I would hear something powerful, I would hit stop, and then I would say, and it would record, and I would paraphrase what I just heard. And I wouldn't be able to say it exactly how they said it, because sometimes it was a long paragraph or whatever. But then I would go back after I was done listening to like a particular Zig Ziglar or Jim Rohn or whatever. And then I would go back and I would listen to my recordings in my own voice. And it almost became like they were my words, you know? And sometimes I'd be like, man, I don't remember where I got that from, because I paraphrased it differently from what they said. But, you know, then I would go back and listen to it again. Oh yeah, that was Jim Rohn or that was Zig Ziglar or whoever it might have been. Right. But I found by doing that, it was hammering it into my conscious and I think maybe even subconscious mind.
Right.
So like
Now,
definitely, sorry, you go ahead.
sorry, go ahead. Sahas, I'll ask later.
So anyways, like about the fitness, so like you said that you were already into fitness, and which is why it was you just and you have already tamed and disciplined yourself in such a way that even during these times you were able to pivot and adapt, and whatever the circumstances were, you could do it, like those stretches, those push-ups, those chin-ups. What happens mostly, like when we talk about ordinary population, everyone average on an average, uh, when people get depressed, they just don't feel like getting out. Like there are times, like I remember I've been there, done that. I know when you just don't feel like getting out of your bed when you are really, really depressed. Has that ever feeling happened to you, and ever in the recent times or the previous times ever?
It used to when I had my 9-to-5 job, but it hasn't since I've left. And the reason why is because I have lots of whys. So I'm so busy chasing dreams and goals and helping other people. And so sometimes people are like, yeah, but Gary, like you're working more than you did at your 9-to-5 job. And it's true, I do. But I enjoy it, number one. And number two, it doesn't feel like work. But what I did as well too is that it's very difficult to, I think, have a work-life balance. I've asked this question many times. Some people say you can. Most people say that you can't, especially when I talk to people at the higher level. And so it comes under more priority. So what I did, and this is, I think, probably one of the best things that my wife and I did in the beginning was we got this big Bristol board. And when our kids were younger, they were, 4 and 7 years old. Like, hey, look, we're going to start this company. It's called Smart Home Choice. We want you to help us build it. So we wrote Smart Home Choice in the middle. And then after it, we said, what do you guys want? Oh, we want like a mascot. Cool. What else? We want $1 million every month. All right, great. What else do you want? We want like 2 months off. 2, how about 4? Yay, 4 months off. And so they helped us design and build this business. And so when we looked at the 4 months off, we're like, how do we get 4 months off a year? And so we did. And when we started the company, we took July and August off, and we take December and January off. And to this day, we still do that.
Wow.
And so I guess what I'm saying is that, yes, I do work super hard. And I was telling my wife just today, I'm like, man, I can feel myself slowly starting to get burnt out. But I know the finish line is at the end of June. And so that's what kind of keeps me going. Because in July and August, we have a cottage, we go up there, we party, we drink, we have friends, we go on the boat, we sea-doo. And by the end of August, I literally cannot party anymore. I'm done. I'm finished. I don't want to do it anymore. And then now I'm back into work mode.
That's awesome.
And so then it's really what I'm doing is creating mini retirements. So instead of waiting until I'm 65 to retire, I retire twice a year. And so then I'm still young, I'm still fit, I can still have fun, I can still take shots, I can still do all the things. And while I'm doing it, the investors that we're working with and our clients, we show them this because we want them to also be able to live that lifestyle as well too. So we really practice what we preach. Now I'm working in the summer, and yeah, I do a little bit, maybe 3-4 hours a week, just to kind of keep a couple things going, get some ideas flowing. But for the most part, we're enjoying it, and we're spending time with the family and our friends.
No, this is amazing. Like what you said about the mini retirements, I think it's just a difference in the mental ability, right? Like just, making those simpler choices, like what choice that you want to make. Either you want to train your brain in thinking that the retirement happens after 60s or 65. How about just, I have many retirements within the whole year and I call it retirements.
Right.
I like that. Yeah. I think that's something we should all go for.
Yeah. And the great thing is that our clients know and they see that.
Yeah.
Right. Which is what I love about it. Even like with our business, we've got membership and everything. And they're still with us throughout the whole entire year. But it's
Right.
because we give them our all from Feb to June and from September to November. Like the web, you see the webinars that we're doing and the podcasts that I'm doing, like, and I'm out with clients, and we've got like another lending company, and I own like a brokerage, and there's so many moving pieces that at times is chaotic. And I think that is what can lead to depression, is when you don't have enough whys. That's what it is. I honestly believe that you don't have enough whys, you don't have enough things to get you out of bed. And so for me, it's always a race against time. I'm like, okay, I'm only going to do one more hour, and then I'm going to go down and spend some time with the wife, or I'm going, you know what I mean? Or, okay, I'm up now, I'm back at work again, because I just love what I do.
Would you call that your biggest why?
Sorry?
What would be your biggest why, if you would have to say? Would that be time or something else?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both. I think it's a combination of time, and I think it's a combination of giving back and helping other people. I think it's service to many. Service to many leads to greatness. Right. And so I enjoy that part of it. I enjoy helping somebody new getting into, if it's real estate investing or trying to change their mindset. That's what I enjoy. I mean, I'm a couple of weeks from now, I'm actually going to be talking at a school. Zoom, obviously. And what are their ages? I think they're like 8 to 12 or something like that. And really, it's just to teach them about mindset. It's to teach them what to do with a dollar. Just things that you were not taught when you were a kid. I'm going to talk to them about why I didn't like school either, because I know most kids don't like school. Some do, obviously, but then also. But make them understand the reason why school is important, because you may not remember everything in school, but what it is about consistency and discipline. Yeah. And if you can take that from school and apply it to your life, that is how people become successful. Not trying to remember certain things, but just the consistency and the discipline of doing the work that you said that you're supposed to do and that you're gonna do.
Right.
Gary, so Sahas and I were actually talking about, because what you mentioned seemed, it's about being a genius in your own way, being an intellect in your own way. So Sahas and I were talking about this a while ago, and we wanted to get like an answer from every guest. The question is pretty simple. I wanted to see what you would think. Now, we were having this back and forth argument about what is the meaning of being a genius. What is a genius? Is it about being book smart? Is it about being wealthy? Is it about work ethic, EQ, IQ? What is it? And what defines you as a genius? So I want to ask you, Gary, what is your definition of genius? And within that definition, would you consider yourself a genius?
The definition of a genius is, I think, knowing when you, that's a tough question. I think it's knowing when you don't know the answers and willing to receive it. So getting out of your way of what you think that you know. That's what I think it is, and being able to receive that information, because nobody knows it all. And I know that, when I do those podcasts, I'm always learning something new, always, even though sometimes I may have an idea formulated about something, and somebody says something, I'm like, you know what? I like the way that you said that. I'm always trying to find a way to always understand where they're coming from, and then and then adapt that into what I already know. And I think that's a level of genius, just knowing that you don't know it all.
That's a good answer.
Are you a genius?
I don't know if I would say I'm a genius. I would say that we're all on the path of becoming geniuses. Yes. I don't think you can ever reach it.
Yes. Genius means perfect, right? Like if you were perfect, then you are God. It's as simple as possible. But genius, like what, and you've rightly said that, it's just the, like choosing to say what you like choosing to say no, taking those risks and getting into those mindset when you are talking about geniuses, that it's somewhere dormant inside of you. I believe that everybody has a genius inside of you. It's
Mhm.
just that you have to access it on your own through the experiences, through the people that you meet. Like you were talking about your podcast, that you are learning from that, and that's what we are also doing with these podcasts. I've told Ali that the first day when we started, I'm just so much excited to see how my 100th episode is going to be like,
Mm-hmm.
or
Yeah.
50th or something, and I want to just see the journey. And we will not be the same people anymore, because the kind of conversations that you and we are having with, especially from you and other interviewees who have come onto this part, it's such a learning experience for us to have and grow from that knowledge and implement and grow from that knowledge.
Agreed.
So yeah,
Yeah,
so
we're all imprinting ourselves on each other,
yeah.
essentially, And I mean, I remember when I first started doing the podcast, I mean, man, I had like all the questions right here. And the reason why was obviously I didn't have the confidence yet. But now I really do my best just to listen to what the other person is saying, and what you guys are doing as well, too. I think you guys are doing a phenomenal job, because then you're truly engaged in the conversation as opposed to trying to figure out what's the next question that you want to ask.
Yeah.
You're just listening, and you're picking up on the words that they're saying, and then you can formulate other ideas, questions, answers to what's being said.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And that was the whole point. So like we always think about it that, we want to learn out of it, and we want people also to learn and gain some kind of have value associated with that. And we don't want to keep it like very, very structured in a way that, one question after the other. What's the
Right.
whole point if I don't get to understand what you're saying?
Exactly.
Right. It's because it's a conversation. It's not like, some TV show or something that you are rehearsing for, and it's not an acting. It's a real life, and the kind of nuggets that you are giving from your experience, from whatever you have been through in your life, it's worth sharing. And I don't know how much value is it not just giving to me, but the people who are going to listen to this. So thank you so much for this.
Well, thank you guys for having me here, and thank you guys for doing this show. And I think you guys are going to truly help other people. And I always say this: it's like, who knows who it's going to reach, who knows who it's going to touch, but even if it just touches one person each show, that is, I think, why you guys are doing what you're doing, because that's really why I do what I do. When I have some of those events and there's 100 people on those calls, it's like, even if it's just one person, that is a great night for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Yeah. And my job, I remember when I first started down this path, was when I started learning all this, I'm like, I'm going to change everybody's life. And it was difficult because some people are not ready yet.
Oh, yeah.
And so then I think the better way is to just be a beacon.
Yeah.
And so then this is what I do. Here I am. If you want to learn more from me, you reach out to me. I'm not going to reach out to you.
That is such a powerful point. And I've seen that happen so many times when I talk to people about certain things that, I'm going to put my money away in an RRSP. And I tell them there's a better way, and they're never open to receiving that information. And I tell them, okay, it's fine, and I'll just do it myself. And eventually, if you have questions, you can come to me. And eventually they do come over once they start seeing things in a different way. They start asking more questions. That's when they're more open and receptive to getting more information. So I 100% agree on that. And Sahas also told me about this interesting concept, is that even in a relationship, try not to change the other person. Let them be, and just be that beacon, like you said, and be yourself. And when things happen, they will happen.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'll say one last thing in regards to that, and relationships, I think, as well, too, because relationships are very difficult. And I remember me and my wife, we were going on a path where we were, about to get separated. And looking back at it, what I realized was that I was looking to her to make me happy. And then once I understood that and got that concept, I don't remember how it happened. And then I started focusing and working on myself. and I would come in and I would just be happy. And she'd be like, how are you happy? Because we're mad, we're in a fight. And but I just changed me. It made me happy. And then by doing that, you can also start to change the people around you, because then she then also started to become happy as well too. So you be the light. Don't depend and wait on somebody else to brighten up your day, right? Nobody has access to your on or off switch. And here's a great analogy. I mean, I can walk up to your car and scratch it, your brand new Lexus, and that should make you happy. But you can turn around and say, thank God you did that, because I didn't even like this car. I actually wanted the Porsche. Right. And so it's only you, only you can, you're the one who has access to that.
It's just the narrative, right? Like, how do you change the narrative of that situation or anything, right? So, and the moment you realize that what you start taking responsibility, that everything is happening because of you, it's not happening to you. So that,
right. Yeah. Who said that? Was it Tony Robbins or Les Brown?
I don't know.
Life is not happening to you. Life is happening for you.
Oh yeah, that's a very common one.
Yeah. And that's powerful. It is powerful.
Right.
You know, there's one another one I really like too is because I think sometimes people just want life to be easier. And so here's another great analogy as well too, is that, you know, if you have a football and you run 100 yards and there are no linebackers and you spike the football in the end zone, can you call it a touchdown? Or do you need to go through those linebackers? And that is what life is. Life is about being hit hard, pain, getting knocked down and getting back up. Because when you do get through those linebackers and you are able to actually spike that football on the ground, that is so much more rewarding.
Yeah.
Right. And that's how life is. Yeah. You know, it's not supposed to be easy.
Absolutely. And there's another analogy that I was listening to yesterday and just reminded me when you said that. So like when somebody climbs up the Mount Everest and they know that it's a peak that you want to reach, but you don't know that the peak also has the valleys that you have to cross, go down, come up. And same as the life, that if you have a success or a goal to achieve up there, but you have to go down in order to come up again. So that's all.
And you know what the hard part is though, is that the valleys are the best part.
Yes.
Not when you're in it, when you come out of it.
You come out of it. And
it's actually a very good point.
Also in it, like how I train myself, like in that case, thank you so much that I'm in, because I know how hard am I going to come out of it.
Yeah.
You're going to watch it. So it's like that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And it's okay to feel sad. And it's okay to feel sore. And it's okay to feel depressed. Just don't stay there.
Yeah.
Right. Because those emotions are there to drive you. You know, like again, like, you know, there was times, I'll tell you what really changed my life. The emotion that changed my life was when I was at TD and talking to my coworkers and saying, like, how do we get out of here? How do we get out of here? And, you know, I'm asking, not to knock them by any means, but I'm asking the same crabs in the bucket, how to get out of this bucket. And that was when I was just like, man, I can't wait till I retire. Like 35, 33, however old I was. I'm like, I just said, I can't wait to wish away 30 years of my life. Yeah. And so the emotion at that point in time was disgusted with myself. That's a powerful emotion if you use it and channel it in the right way. And I used that, and it became, you know, a huge catapult for me to spring forward, as opposed to just sitting and marinating in it.
How did you change that emotion?
How did you change that emotion? I put that to work. I put that to trying to find another way, going on the internet, Googling, just searching, looking, because it was just frustration. Like, I have to find another way. I have to find somebody to teach me, somebody to motivate me, somebody who has the answers. And it took a long time, you know, but because it was so strong, that emotion, it lasted for months, lasted for years, you know.
Do you know how Sorry, go on.
No, it's okay. Go on.
Yeah, I'm just curious to know like how long the process was for you from changing that mindset. Was it buying your first property you instantly knew, or what that was the turning point?
Buying the first property sparked it. Because I didn't think that I'd be able to buy a property. It was in 2008. And I remember a friend, I was telling him, I was like, I know that I've got to get into real estate investing. I've got to figure it out. And the reason why was because here's what I'd figured out as well too, was that I'd had to go into my financial advisor's office for the third time to take all my debt and put it into my mortgage. I couldn't keep up with inflation and what was happening. I didn't understand it at the time, but I'm like, man, thank God I have a home. So I'm sitting in my financial advisor's office. She's like, Gary, you're terrible with debt. You're terrible with credit cards. You're terrible with lines of credit. So I'm like, I know, I don't want any more of them. Just get rid of them and don't even open them. Just close them. She's like, all right. She leaves. I'm sitting in the office by myself and I look up and I see the index chart. And the index chart is this big chart, 50 years, shows you what interest rates have done. It shows you the presidents. It shows you a bunch of other things. Okay. All these charts. And then on there was inflation, and inflation was averaging anywhere from like, I don't know, 3-4% a year to like 15 or 20%. And so on average, 5 or 6%, if you factored over 50 years. I was like, hold on a second. My raise at work last year was $1,000, which is pretty good. It wasn't bad, but I did the math and I'm like, hold on a second. My raise is only 1.6%. I was like, I get it. I can't outpace inflation. It was mathematically impossible. So I was like, well, what if I own one more property or even two more? Because that was when it just triggered that I can't outpace inflation by having a job. That was when that really kind of helped to spark the that way to say, okay, I need to get investment properties. And look, and I tell this to people now, like I don't love real estate investing. People are like, what are you talking about? Like I don't. I love what it allows me to do. It gives me freedom of choice and peace of mind. That is why I like real estate. Like, think about it. Who likes dealing with tenants? There's nice tenants out there, but dealing with tenants and maintenance and leaky roofs and fog. No, but come on. Somebody wakes up and says, man, I can't wait to see what problems I have with this rental property. No, you do it for what it's able to do for you and your family. And so, so it was real estate that really kind of got me down this path. But then I had to get the mindset piece right as well too. You know what the crazy thing is with that first property? So here's another really interesting story was that my friend came to me because I told him, like, I'm gonna buy an investment property, and I didn't have any money. And he goes, okay, look, my dad, he's going through a divorce. Can you buy his home because he wants to stay there? So it was in Oshawa. It was like $200,000. Okay, this is in 2008, and back then, this is right around when the U.S. Depression was happening, right? And so back then, you could buy an investment property 0% down.
Oh man,
0%
missed that boat.
Yeah, so 0% down. So I bought the property, and so I had to come up with the land transfer tax and the lawyer fees and all that. It was $3,000. I didn't have it. I didn't have it because I remember I cut up all my credit cards and the lines of credit and everything. So I had to go back to my friend. I'm like, listen, why don't we do a joint venture together? He's like, I don't have any money. I was like, you put in $1,500. I'll put in $1,500. That is how tight things were for me. And that's a true story, legitimate true story. That's how I got my first investment property.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
Yeah.
Good times though.
Yeah.
0% down, 200,000.
0% down, 40-year amortization.
Wow.
40. Wow. Hear that? The max I heard is 35.
Yeah. It was like a small window. It was like, I don't even know, maybe 4 to maybe 6 months or something like that.
Oh man.
Yeah. So
it's hard. Yeah, it's hard, man, to like look back and think, oh, the boat's gone. But I know for a fact 20 years from now, I'm going to look back to this day and say, oh, I should have bought a property. Oh, things are way more easier.
You're right. Listen, here's the thing as well, too. So from 2008 to now, every year, the discussion that I've always had with my team and investors is real estate investing is too expensive. real estate investing is too expensive. Every year, it's always been that. It's too expensive. It's too expensive. There's been a couple dips here and there, but it's always too expensive. Right. And you look back, next year, you'll be like, oh, it's too expensive. You just have to just get in. Just get in. That's
just
it.
Get in.
Just get in. Do whatever it is. You beg, borrow, steal. That's what I did. Because after I got that one, then I went back to the banks. I'm like, oh, okay. Then I started understanding debt. Then I was like, there's a difference? Good debt, bad debt? And so then I went and got lines of credits. Because then I started using those to buy my investment properties.
Interesting.
As much as I could. I didn't care. I went to Royal Bank and Scotiabank and TD Bank and Bank of Montreal. And I just knocked on the doors. Hey, you guys have any money? Have any money? Have any money?
It worked.
Deal. Oh, man. And we put ourselves into all kinds of debt. But I knew that it was good debt. Right.
That is important.
But the hard part too was that then, people at work were like, Gary, you got 6 properties, you got 7 properties, the market's going to crash, you're going to lose everything. And again, though, at the time, I didn't understand it fully. And so then I also started getting worried as well, too. And so this is when it's important to surround yourself with the right people, because then you can go back and you can have a conversation with them and say, yeah, but what if the market crashed? Doesn't matter. We don't buy homes for appreciation. We buy them for cash. Oh, okay, cool. Good. I like that.
Makes sense.
Right.
That's awesome. Since we are almost coming to the close, I have one last question for you, Gary. And so let's say you're 99 years old and every record of whatever things that you've done in your life, and it's vanished, it's gone away. There is no record, good things, bad things, money, whatever it is. What 3 pieces of advice would you give to your grandchildren about life?
There is no such thing as mistakes, only experience. Never let anybody tell you that you can't do what you want to do. And life is shorter than you think it is.
Yeah.
All right. And live it to the fullest.
That's
Gary,
awesome.
thank you so much for coming on, man. I got so much value. Sahas, I'm sure he did as well. This was a very influential podcast episode. So some of the things you said, I'm going to go back and make snippets, like, paraphrase them like myself. And I like that idea. I think that's going to be very useful when doing audiobooks as well. So thanks again, man. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you. I had a great time. I think this is a great podcast. Again, I think what you guys are doing is fantastic. And so thank you very much for having me on the show. And look, I'll tell you this. I think you guys really drew a lot of good things out of me. This is one of my favorite podcasts that I've done. I had to kind of dig a little deep for this one here. So thank you.
Oh, that really means a lot. Thank you so much.
That's the idea of Inside Out. We want to bring that shit out, see what we can pull.
Yeah.
And we got a lot. We did. I'm sure anyone listening probably got a lot of value too.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Anytime. And you can have me back anytime. I'd love to do this again.
Love it. Thank you so much.
All right, guys. Take care.